This is the sort of behaviour which turned Andy Sykes against the party. He also felt personally guilty for his part in organising a BNP meeting the night before the Bradford riots.
Everybody were talking about the BNP coming, everybody were worked up, being told that Asians were coming to the area and asylum coming to the area, and then next day in Bradford, tension was just unbelievable.
BNP leader Nick Griffin warned his members to stay out of Bradford city centre, but the National Front were there. Violent confrontation between them and members of the Asian community helped spark the riots that night.
It was just total devastation and chaos in Bradford. Just shops that had been trashed and looted, pubs burnt to the ground. Then I thought to myself, well, I wonder if it's actually true that what BNP have been saying, how Asians are going to start attacking everybody and doing this and that. But I think it was part of their plan for this, part of the BNP's plan or National Front's plan, for this to actually happen and then get white support behind them.
The BNP were not to blame for raising tension in Bradford that day. The National Front were, but Andy had had enough.
And then I actually felt gutted that we were at a meeting the night before in Eccleshill, attended by BNP leader Nick Griffin. And, you know, I felt, were we to blame?
He acted on his guilty conscience and contacted anti-BNP campaigners. He agreed to become their mole. He's been passing on information for the last 2 years. Now I'm helping him to go public. He makes the introductions and I record the evidence. This is how I meet Steve Barkham, another man with the Bradford riots on his mind. He tells me he was involved in a fight with an Asian man that afternoon.
No, he got what he was asking for, but he got beat up, and then he thought, you know, I'll get some out with it. That's what he did there. And they didn't know who had hit him, because there was a load of it going all round, so no one knew who had hit him or who had done what. To be honest, I can't fucking remember. But like I was there, and I've got like a few photographs of me involved with.
If there are police photographs, I'll need to find them. Barkham also tells me that he joined the BNP after he and his family were attacked by Asians. He says joining helped him channel his anger.
I used to sit at home at night, mate, wide awake, upset about it, you know what I mean? Shaking with anger, thinking there's nothing I can do about this. Honestly, I used to sit at home all night, well not all night, but you know, I used to sit at home in bed thinking, fucking hell, where's it going wrong, mate? You know, can you stop this? And then once I started doing this, like, I sort of set out.
Kind of release that.
Because I'm doing something about it, aren't I?
I'm intrigued and ask a lot of questions. I then receive bad news from Andy. I've asked too many.
He telephoned me and he said, I need to meet you straight away. He said, we've got a problem with that Jason guy. So that's when I grabbed my kit together and went and recorded what he had to say, and this is it.
The thing that really stands out about him, like asking me all sorts of things that you wouldn't normally ask. Yeah. He's fucking about with his right hand all the time inside his coat. Yeah. And the fact that he's up here, no one knows who the fuck he is. Yeah. He's got this accent that I've never heard of. He reckons he's from Nottingham. Yeah. Well, we won't jump to conclusions yet, right? What we'll do, we'll fucking keep an eye on him. If I didn't say anything and it just carried on and he did fucking start doing things like that, I thought, fuck me, I should have not noticed that earlier on. I'm glad you told me.
See, the thing is that what everybody's paranoid about.
Yeah.
Especially about members, their own members.
When you get new members, people get paranoid and they think they're infiltrators.
Andy persuades Barkham there's nothing to worry about, but we decide to back off. I'll need to be more careful if I'm to persuade him to tell me the truth about what happened during the Bradford riots. To win the trust of BNP members, I have to join their campaign teams. Their tactic is to seize on genuine local issues and exploit them for their own ends. In Keighley, 10 miles outside Bradford, even though the police have investigated both white and Asian men for sex attacks on teenage white girls, the BNP focuses on reports that the first suspects were Asian.
The suggestion that men are seeking out schoolgirls for sex would be controversial in any community. 16% of the Yorkshire town's 70,000 population is Asian, but the claims about what's happening here in Keighley are particularly incendiary.
Being new leaves me outside the inner circle. While I'm working my way in from the bottom, Andy is privy to high-level conversations with Nick Griffin about how the BNP should deal with the allegations in Keighley.
Nick Griffin and I spoke about if there was any meetings coming up in Bradford. He actually said, what about Keighley? And I said, well, it's a little bit tender in Keighley. I said, tensions are running a little bit high. I said, it'll probably kick off if we had a meeting in Keighley. And he actually said, oh, good, if we get a riot out of it, we'll walk the election. And I was just absolutely gobsmacked with, the chairman of the BNP saying that to me.
A meeting is called in Keighley 5 weeks later.
Thank you. Now, the last two meetings in Keighley, you'd have thought we had a bunch of football hooligans in the meeting. This is not the way the British National Party behave, or its supporters, or its members. Can you please give a right good BNP welcome to Nick Griffin, the chair of the party group.
This town should be on everybody's lips as the place where those paedophile drug rapes went on. Because 60 of our children, 60, well, one is too many, but 60 is a massive rape wave. It's astounding. I'll tell you, there's two reasons. The first is that our police force and our elected governors haven't done a damn thing properly about it. And the second is that their good book tells them that that's acceptable. Now, that sentence could get me 7 years in prison, and if I actually went into detail about what's in the Quran, we'd be here all night, so I'm not going to. But if you doubt it, go and buy a copy, or look it up on the internet, and you will find verse after verse after verse, which says that you can take any women you want, as long as they're not Muslim women, any woman that your right arm can own. That's the sword arm. It's the fighting arm. It's the arm you hit a white lad with a baseball bat with you. That's the sword, the fighting arm. Any woman that they can take by force or guile is theirs. If they get a non-Muslim girl and they get her pregnant, then her community doesn't want her, and the child generally grows up a Muslim. And that's the way that this wicked, vicious faith has expanded from a handful of cranky lunatics about 1,300 years ago till it's now sweeping country after country before it all over the world. And if you read that book, you'll find that's what they want. And Keighley should be known all over Britain for the fact that it's the place where this particular part of their plan, not the riots or the rest of it, this one has come out here more than anybody else. And it's not.
When Nick Griffin said his speech could land him in prison, I wanted to know if that was true, so I showed a senior barrister my footage. He says that Griffin's words are threatening, abusive or insulting, and being delivered to the party faithful are designed to stir up racial hatred, a crime under Section 18 of the Public Order Act. Griffin already has a conviction for stirring up racial hatred. The maximum sentence is 7 years in prison. Griffin's interpretation of the Quran has also been condemned by Muslim scholars as wildly distorted and out of context.
There's no knight on a shining, big horse with shining armour going to come to the rescue, kill the Islamic dragon. There isn't anybody. And if you've got young children in your family, or teenage girls, or slightly older boys, or pensioners, then you've got to stand up and do something for the British National Party, because otherwise they will do for someone in your family. That is the truth. For saying that, I tell you, I would get 7 years if I said that outside, if I said that in front of people who go and report it to the police. You've heard the truth, you know the truth. Please, please, make up your mind this instant. You are going to do something to help.
It's very dangerous to suggest that there are dragons to be slayed and that the BNP are the only people who can do so, when it is clearly just demonizing one section of our society with a view to creating hatred and also, I think, spreading violence against them.